Hello everyone, this is part 12 of What If Naruto was exiled after he brought Sasuke back, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. Be sure to like and subscribe, it gives me more motivation. Enjoy. Undervis. I hate you. Q snickered as Naruto was using the Rasengan to dig into the collapsed tunnel. Mika was using his wind and several water jutsus to make ice supports to the redug tunnel. Kit, how was I to know it collapsed? It happens from time to time and demons don't need it as they appear in there. Naruto grumbled as he shoved the Rasengan into the snow and dirt once more. 2 days. 2 days and we've been at this the whole time. Naruto grumbled as the jutsu developed by the fourth ate up the dirt and snow. He shivered as Mika's air whipped in and collected the moisture and built new braces for the tunnel. Add some rock supports to it as well, Mika. Q said, seeing some of the closer braces melt from the heat from the Rasengan was putting out as it ate into the collapsed tunnel. Mika didn't speak, but his hands went through the hand seals and soon a rock pillar joined the one of ice. The silver-haired youth had been rather subdued since entering the tomb's entrance above ground. Q was too busy focusing on using his Vunla senses to see how far they would have to dig. Naruto's sword was back at the tent. The rune sword absorbed chakra and Naruto had nearly drained himself when they started digging using a Rasengan. It seemed that the blade couldn't be used within 5 feet of him. QB turned and looked at his other apprentice. Mika had woken earlier than usual the first day and had been despondent. Q had an idea, but he didn't want to say it out loud. Gah, I am such an idiot, Naruto said, backing up from where he'd been digging. Behind the shade and the blonde there was a snort. You said it, Mika muttered as he fused another strut into place. That was another thing. Since entering the tomb, Mika had become sarcastic and rude. Whatever, Naruto said as he put his hands in the familiar cross shape. Shadow clone jutsu. He yelled and a dozen clones filled the cramped tunnel. All right you lot, let's get digging. The original yelled and 4 sets of 3 yelled out and now 5 Rasengans were eating through the collapsed tunnel. Idiot, Mika muttered and shaking his head made several earth clones and used them to keep up with the digging Narutos. Don't be that way, Q said, hovering near the wind user. Whatever. What's been bugging you, Mika? Since entering the tomb above you've been short-tempered and I don't like it here. The deeper we go, the more I feel wrong. The silver-haired youth said. I don't like being rude to Naruto, nor you. But it seems that every fiber of me is screaming not to go further. Q sighed. I was afraid of this. Naruto, hold it, Q called out and the blonde stopped. He saw there was going to be a serious discussion, so he ordered the dozen clones to add more support while he went to see what was going on. What's up? The blonde asked, leaning against the wall near an ice and dirt support. Mika, you've been feeling this since we left the outpost and traveled closer to the demon graveyard, haven't you? Q asked. Golden eyes looked first at the tunnel floor and then up to Q, before the silver-haired teen nodded. Every fiber that is in me is screaming to go back. To stay away from here. I've been uneasy even when we slept above. Q sighed. Hey, Fox, what's going on? Naruto asked in concern for his friend. It's his dragon blood. Since being in the Undervis, Mika has felt the pull of it stronger and stronger. I was hoping his human blood would win out, but, Q paused. You can't be a Zet. Mika sighed. I knew. Deep down I knew. I've always had trouble using any and all Vunla-based abilities. Mika, I want you to return to the tent and meditate. I'll be back up to work on you with your wind and sword SKS then. I'm sorry, Q said. Mika shrugged. It's not your fault, master. What's going on? Naruto asked, confused by this discussion. Kit, you and your clones will need to dig alone. Mika's Hanyu blood is making him uneasy. He can't go any further down the path you are traveling. His way while parallel is different. Mika shrugged. It's okay. I mean you were stronger with Vunla than I ever was anyways. Mika said and gave the blonde a slight shrug and smirk. I'll work on my own SKS, you just finish your training with the furball here and become a Zet master. Q made a choking sound at being called a furball, but both teens ignored him. Micah. Don't. Just get down there, do what Master Q tells you, pass their centuries-old tests that probably be a cakewalk for you, and then make your mech-daypan and we'll head back to Konoha and kick ass and take names. Naruto saw the smirk and knew Micah was crushed that he couldn't go further, and yet here he was putting on a brave face for Naruto. Micah. Go on, he said and turned away to head back up to wait with the tent. Naruto watched him go and then looked at the shade. Isn't there anything that we can do? No. Q said. I failed to see it, and I've done him harm in getting his hopes up. No, I saw it, but I was too proud. Q said. He looked at Naruto. We're nearly to the bottom. Get back to digging. Naruto nodded and went back using the Rasengan. The clones got theirs going as well, and Naruto and 4 clones dug away with the powerful jutsu, while the remaining 8 built supports from the dirt using earth manipulation jutsus. Micah sat in the middle of the tent while outside the wind howled, and Micah didn't wish to light the fire yet. He sat in a relaxed lotus position, the Hanzo sword in its sheath lay before him. If I can't use Vunla, I can use what I've learned and add it to my mastery of wind. He thought. Closing his eyes, he focused inwards. He felt better being away from the tomb. And he understood his dragon blood was ill at ease in the tomb of the demons. He never admitted it to Naruto, but since coming to the Underverse, his dragon's blood had become stronger. His nature has been surging. He could use his wind without even a bare thought as an extension. Wind jutsus he didn't need to form hand seals. He found that water jutsus were easier, and he actually thought what he could do with his stronger chakra control. He stretched out with his senses, and using the wind he could tell there was others nearby, their shapes formed in the wind. They weren't moving, but watching both the tent and the tomb entrance. I wonder who's coming to call. Micah thought as he tried to strengthen his connection. He added Vunla to it, and while he wouldn't be able to go to the lengths Naruto could, he smiled at what he was able to accomplish. Time for the hunted to become the hunter. Micah thought, his hand going to the Hanzo sword. Naruto smirked as they broke through the last of the collapsed tunnel. Naruto and his clones cheered, and the blonde took a moment to look around. With a low whistle he saw the architecture. Whoa. Impressive, isn't it? Q said as light orbs sprang to life. What? Naruto asked. Ancient technology. It is, as you youngsters say, cool. Naruto walked around the huge chamber. Stone daises formed a circle in the center of the chamber. At the far end was a giant door that was bigger than the Hokage Tower. Naruto removed his winter cloak and looked around. It's warm down here. Yes, it is. Both Q and Naruto spun about. They'd failed to realize that they weren't alone, and now they'd been taken by surprise. Hello Kyubi. Konoha. Hinata stood atop the Hokage's monument. She talked with Tsunade about what she'd done to Ira Haruno. Sakura had been added to the bingo book. Hinata looked on as her Byakugan eyes saw the changes Shikamaru and his father were making to the village's defenses. The elder Nara had taken what he'd learned, and after the Haruno clan members had been interrogated were making alterations. The village walls were being added to yet again, and conscriptions to the village militia were going on even now. I should have finished her when I had the chance. I'm too weak. No Hinata, you're not weak. Jarkala. Yes child. Although I am merging more and more with you each passing day, I am still here. You showed mercy. Even I have never encountered the persona aspect the Haruno clan hid all this time. But I could have prevented this. And Kushina could still be alive if she'd been stronger after giving birth early over stress. Fate is a kind and cruel woman. Be strong, if not for yourself and Konoha, then for Naruto. You feel for him as well. Hinata thought to the spirit in the back of her mind. Of course I do. He was born from my last host. I feel a family connection to him, and you wish to have a connection. One of mate, of spouse. Hinata could feel the spirit pause. What? You know something. I know many things. You will know all I do in time. I will tell you this now. This time you are away from him, is but a spark in the amount of time you both can have. What do you mean Jarkala? Both you, and Naruto will, bearing being ked live long lives. Kushina knew this as well. Bearing enough physical damage you both will be relatively immortal. Once you both reach your majority of, 20, 21 you won't physically age. And with my abilities you will be harder to be. But what of Naruto? Hey, Naruto is the Jinchuriki to the Kyubi no Kitsune, but if you notice, he's stronger than your average Jinchuriki. Kyuubi chose him as his successor. The seal on Naruto over time would have drained Kyuubi of his life and chakra. By willingly naming him, Naruto will be the next Kyuubi and will be needed in the Underverse. Hinata sat on a tree stump. What? Why? As the next Kyuubi, he will be king of the Kitsune. He will be expected to report to the Elemental Empress, and Kami as well. But if that happens, how will he ever be Hokage? Hinata thought. She knew Naruto wanted to be the greatest Hokage ever. Sadly, as a demon lord, the people won't allow him to have the peace he craves here. And he will be a king. Hokage is nothing compared to that. Child. What is it, Jarkala? When the time comes, go with him. You won't have a place here either. Even if you aren't his mate at the time. You will outlive all others here and it will be painful. What was Kushina going to do? Hinata asked. Kushina had planned to remain in Konoha to protect her children and the descendants. The spirit of vengeance sent the image of Kushina making that vow to Minato while early on in her pregnancy. It's not fair. Hinata said aloud. What's not fair, child? It's not fair that Naruto knows nothing of his heritage, and I know everything his mother knew. Why wasn't he ever told, I wonder? Hinata thought to the spirit. I do not know Hinata, but when you see him, you can tell him all you know. Use it to break the ice. Now, I must rest. My time separate from you is nearing its end. I find I am less myself and more you with every day, and soon, you will be vengeance. When I will return to the scroll, and you can dictate where it goes. Be well, Hinata. I sense soon you will be with Naruto. Everything is rushing to a conclusion. Be strong, be safe. Hinata felt the spirit of vengeance return to its slumber once more, and she found the sun was setting on another day in the Leaf Village. Underverse. Hello, Kyuubi. Naruto went into a defensive stance and regretted not having a sword. After 2 years with a longer blade, he felt without one. Q chuckled. Miss me? The fox shade asked. The man stepped out of the shadows. Naruto gasped. The man was nearly 7 feet tall, had hair as white as snow. It was the pure blood red eyes that caught his attention. There were no pupils, just pools of red that seemed to take in everything. Like a rash. You don't have a body, yet you don't register as S. The man said. Itendigan. Still the guardian of the S. Q said. Kyuubi no Kitsune, and, the big man's head tilted to the side and his blood-red eyes studied Naruto. He has your chakra, and marks, son. Chuckles, close enough. Naruto Uzumaki. He is my Jinchuriki, and my Baiti. Itendigan raised a white eyebrow. You were foolish enough to get caught on the earth plane. The big man shook his head and walked past the pair. Naruto saw a scythe and chain on the big man's back. Master Q, who is this guy? Naruto asked, watching as the big man took up a position before the stone circle in the middle of the room. Itendigan. He is the undertaker here in the demon's graveyard. I thought he'd have S years ago. Q said, watching as the big man paused before a statue and bowed. But then immortals only pass on when they wish. And being here, Q's shade shrugged. Do I have to fight him or something? Naruto asked nervously. He was tired from digging, and he wasn't armed except for a few kunai. Not yet, Q answered. Itendigan. Q called out, getting the big man's attention. What is it, Kyuubi? You aren't S, and your container isn't near death. What do you want? I am here to allow my Baiti to gain the materials needed to create his Mekdepan and take the trials to become a Zet Gekadi. Q said, standing slighting behind Naruto, his ghost hands hovering over the blonde's shoulders. The guardian of the tomb paused and looked at Naruto. Strong with Vunla. How long has he been training? 2 years. The white-haired behemoth snorted. And you think he's ready for the trials? I'll allow him access to make his Mekdepan, but the trials, he's not ready. I am ready. Q tell him, Naruto said, looking at the stranger and not liking that this man judged him with just looking at him. He was sick of people doing that to him. Are you? The big man said, his red eyes staring at Naruto, and he felt exposed, as if he stood before Kami and was being weighed for his life deeds. He's strong. His aura, despite housing your Yukai, has remained pure. Fascinating, the big man said as he continued to look at Naruto. He allows his emotions to rule him. Q remained silent while the Undertaker judged his apprentice. He could say nothing to sway the tomb's guardian opinion. He at least is allowing us to make a Mekdepan. Make your weapon. But you aren't ready for the trials. You must learn to control yourself. You must learn to master your emotions, and your power. Itendigan said. Until you do, you will never make Zet Gekari. Naruto snorted. I don't know what Gekari means. I'm a ninja. Itendigan paused. Ninja you say? He asked looking at Kyubi who nodded. Gekari is Yumprat for night. The big man explained after several moments. You want to be a Zethazi. The big man stroked his chin in thought. Gather your supplies. I have much to think about. The big man seemed to shimmer and then vanished. What the hell? Naruto asked rounding on Q who looked surprised as well. Come Kit. We don't have much time. Q said floating into the stone circle. Now focus both chakra, mine and yours and use these hand signs. Q said demonstrating several seals. Wait, what was that one? Naruto asked. Demon, and the one after that was S. Q explained and watched as Naruto pulled on both chakras. It had taken them a lot of time, but Naruto had phenomenal chakra control now that he could pull up to 5 tails of power without side effects. I can't wait for him to be able to use all 9 tails. But that will be years away yet. He's made great progress with the 5 he awakened. Q thought watching as Naruto went over the hand signs slowly before connecting them faster. You are my heir Naruto. Both of us were robbed of our paths in life. But I swear Kit, you will be king of demons in the end, and you will be stronger than I ever was. Naruto, sure of the hand signs, went through them using the red-blue chakra to connect with them, and in a flash the pair vanished. A pair of red eyes had watched from atop the giant doorway. Uzumaki Naruto. You will do great things. For good or evil, you will do great things. Oh Togakur. Sakura was pissed. She'd just been delivered news that her whole clan had been taken in and her mother was a lifeless husk. Damn that Hyuga whore. She ranted and kicked a chair across the room. I will K that pale-eyed bee. Danzo and Sai watched the deep cover operative. Lord Danzo. Sai asked. Do not concern yourself Sai. Sakura just found out Konoha has her clan in prison. Sadly our network was discovered and we do not have an informant in Konoha any longer. What does Orochimaru say? The strange root operative asked. He says it's no concern. The Uchiha is going through jutsus and we'll be able to attack and wipe out Leaf soon. Danzo watched as Sakura destroyed some more furniture. That is enough Sakura. The pink-haired Kunoichi froze in mid-throw and turned to look at Danzo. Her sickly yellow-green eyes looked at him. When the time come that Hyuga whore is mine. But of course my dear. Now, study the scrolls you gained for us. Learn all you can. If you need help, Sai will aid you. The ink-using nin looked at his master in surprise but it didn't reach his face. And where is Sasuke? She asked. The Uchiha is being taken care of, and undergoing special training. You won't see him till he's done. Danzo said, his voice taking on a hint of steel. Very well, Sakura said and spinning picked up the pack with the stolen scrolls and went towards her room. Heel Sai. She called out mockingly and the root operative wondered if he could get away with smothering her while she slept. Konoha. Tsunade looked at the maps on her desk then at Shikamaru. Give me your best estimate. She ordered. Sai, we figure 2, maybe 3 more months. Jiraiya-sama's informants are being assassinated and information is becoming harder to come by. Tsunade looked at the elder Nara. Recommendations. Shikaku Nara sighed exactly in the same way as his son. Suna was decimated heavily by Akatsuki. Many of their nin that we were expecting for backup were wiped out. He pointed at the map as he continued. Best bet would be to have Suna abandon their city and by trap it and retreat behind our walls. That way we have only one city to defend. Tsunade rubbed her temples. Snow and water have sent more supplies, but the lines are becoming too dangerous for them to cross, and their ninja forces aren't up to standards. Shikamaru spoke up. We've had the academy students of both Suna and Konoha acting as messengers as well as many civilians building the oasis. The oasis was a desert trap that they were counting on Gaara's aid to use in spring. Have you mentioned the move to the Kazekage? She asked the 2 Naras. Hi. He was reluctant to abandon the village, but he realizes that his forces were decimated by just 2 S-class nuke nins. He's evacuating the civilians and academy students first. Shikamaru said. The Kazekage believes it best to use Suna as a trap itself. He and a volunteer group will use Suna to delay the invading villages. They will use guerrilla tactics as they fall back to Konoha. Shikaku points at the map. This passage here we can rig to collapse. They will either need to dig out or take several days' journey. But that will route them into some of the smaller fishing villages. Tsunade didn't like that. What about trapping them? She asked. We could trap some, but with the amount of ninja they will have, Shikamaru sighed. Troublesome as it is, we're going to get our asses kicked. Tsunade did not like that. I don't care what you have to do, but come up with a winning solution. She paused. Shikaku, pull all nin out of retirement. If they can stand, they can fight. Lady Tsunade, Orochimaru is putting together forces to wipe us out of existence. Plan traps, use the civilian militia. Press gang academy students from the final years. Konoha will not fall. We'll use the time we have in the next 2 months. Or 3. Shikamaru mumbled but fell silent, seeing the Hokage's eyes harden. We'll use our time as best as possible. Hell, use some of Naruto's old prank ideas to set traps. Get Iruka Yumino and Konohamaru Sarutobi in on it. Shikamaru looked up. What about Naruto? He asked. He's not available. Best thing to do is plan that he's still exiled. Troublesome. Shikamaru said, rising and walking out the door, his hands in his pockets and his shoulders slumped. And if we did have Naruto? Shikaku asked after his son had left to work on a plan. Sai, as always, he's Konoha's #1 unpredictable knucklehead ninja. He's a wild card into any situation, as I'm sure you boy knows. I've got slugs out looking for a way to contact him. Crunch time is coming. Where the hell are you, Naruto? X. Undervis. Demon Graveyard. Where the hell are we? Naruto asked. It's so dark I can't see my hand in front of my face. My bad. Emisahida. The darkness suddenly was peeled back as globes of light slowly sprang to life. Naruto could feel it with his Vunla-enhanced senses. Whoa, he uttered. The power and energy flowing around the place made Naruto think of being lost in the ocean. Welcome to the Boneyard, Kit. Q said. Naruto realized there were millions of pillars, each had etchings on them. What are they? He asked, looking at one. It had the image of a hawk man on it. Each pillar contains the several bones and liquids from a demon. That one you are looking at is the tomb of Horus, a half-man half-bird demon. They passed on from the realm long ago during the Great Wars. Great Wars? Naruto asked. Yes. Undervis once was racked by war, as factions fought. Solid Anu is the result of peace. Some species of demon out during the war, others mutated and became fiends. While others thrived. Like the Kitsune? Naruto asked. Yes. The dragons too thrived, but they are mostly in hiding, and only a few half-breeds come out now. The great dragons prefer to slumber till they are needed once more. Mikahamaru's ancestors. But why? The dragons are forces of nature themselves. Life and death. When I was young, I'd say about a century or two, there was a flight of dragons. The end result was the Estersans, which once had been a rich jungle became the wasteland it is even today. Q said as he floated past pillars. Come on. We have to reach the fox section. There we will get the materials to make you the weapon of Azet. Naruto followed and his eyes looking upwards. This place is huge. Hey, the graveyard is in its own pocket dimension. The only way in is through the tomb. Kyuubi paused. Here is Shukaku. My remains are here too, well my bodily remains. You mean your spirits? What? Oh. No, our chakra is crystallized into demosite. The only thing here are our bones and crystallized chakra, and some organs and such. Naruto looked at the pillar of one of the demonic sand raccoons. So, will one of his people get his position since Gaara can't? Naruto asked as they started walking again. It is up to Kami to decide. Now Kit, listen to me. When we reach the Kitsune section, I am going to have to explain some things to you before we begin. You will need to pay attention this time, no fooling around. This is life or death matters. Q spoke, making sure he had the blonde's attention. They continued to walk and Naruto took in the pillars. Each one had information about the demon. Not a lot of information. The blonde muttered. Each pillar contains a rumulna, a type of memory crystal. Q stopped before one pillar and waved a hand using Vunla to activate it. An image of a demon fire crab appeared and many words in a language that Naruto figured was Yimprat. Really need to learn about this. Sucks having to ask for translations all the time, the blonde thought as he looked at it as it seemed to scroll on and on with history of the demon. Older demons like myself and Shukaku, you could spend years reading everything we've ever done. Q said with a smirk, using Vunla to deactivate the pillar, and continued on with Naruto. After what felt like hours, they reached the Kitsune burial ground. Naruto noticed there were less pillars here. Kitsune are crafty by nature, and we tend to live longer than other demon races by escaping and continuing on another day. Q said, noticing his look. Q drifted around, and Naruto saw him pause before a set of pillars. A sad look came over the shade's face. Q. Naruto asked softly. This is my mother's grave. Q said. She was killed during the Great Demon War. She was seduced and then betrayed by one we thought was ally. Naruto stepped back and allowed Q to mourn at his mother's grave. Kit. Pay attention. Sit in a meditation position. Naruto did as the QB ordered. Close your eyes, center in, feel your connection with the Vunla deep within. Q continued, his eyes still on the marker of his mother. Clear your mind of fear and doubt. Feel the Vunla reaching out. Naruto calmed his breathing slower and slower. He did as Q ordered. His mind eased, and the tension he'd felt since they'd arrived at the tomb seemed to flow out of him. Vunla ever seeking, feeling, touching, seeping. Q watched as Naruto in lotus position rose off the ground. He watched silently now as Naruto, deep in a Vunla trance, drifted away and soon found himself in front of a grave that QB wished he'd never see. You had to pick her, he muttered. He looked up at the ceiling. Kami, I know you're laughing. QB sighed. The only vixen that ever truly captured my heart. I swear, Kami, you and the Elemental Empress are out to mess with me. The former fox demon muttered under his breath, hoping Naruto didn't hear him. All right, Kit. Now that you've made a connection. QB didn't get to finish as the pillar grave glowed with a faint red light. Oh, this isn't right. The demon thought as he watched the pillar glow brighter, and he looked at his apprentice and saw he too was glowing. The red Yukai and Naruto's own blue chakra were merging, forming a royal purple. What in Kami's panties? Micah dodged and avoided the ball and chain. Damned lizard men, he thought. They'd burrowed under the snow and tried to surprise him, but his connection to the wind told him of the change, and he'd used his limited Vunla abilities to sense them. He stood out in the snow, the Hanzo sword drawn, and he had a stance with the blade positioned pointing to the sky like he'd seen Master Kwai do before. The first lizard creature had exploded out of the snow and found itself cut in half, its blood staining the snow. 3 more exploded up out of the snow just out of reach. Micah was dodging the chain weapons, and his wind shield was stopping the lizard men's arrows and spears from getting to him. Damn it. Since that initial strike I've been on the defensive. Micah was hating this, but the fact that 2 would engage and the other 2 would burrow back into the snow and pop up to attack was annoying. I can't remain like this for long. Micah thought as his wind shield destroyed another pair of arrows, while the 2 he'd been fighting dove back into the snow. I see why they are dangerous. Master Q will be pissed at me for letting myself get into this situation. Micah leapt straight into the air to avoid the spear that would have impaled him from below. Wind style, snow hurricane. He yelled, and his wind attack whipped snow around with gale force, and slammed it into one of the lizard men. He smiled, hearing a nice crack indicating something important in it had broken. Micah's joy was short-lived as another 2 sprang up from the snow. How many are there? He muttered, using the air and snow to create a platform up above. Several arrows slammed into his hovering perch, and he glared at the damn creatures. Okay, you walking suitcases. You want to pick a fight? Come on, I need to relieve tension. Micah sheathed the Hanzo sword, and his hands went through several jutsu seals. Eat this suitcase, he said, and concentrated. Fire style, wind style, combination Buring wind blade. The large blade of flame cut down and impacted. 2 of the lizard men weren't fast enough and were burnt to crisp where they stood. The others managed to burrow deep even as the fire wind attack slammed into the ground and melting snow and ice to reveal charred dirt. Micah's hands were already in motion. Water style, water missile. With all the moisture in the air, Micah found the water element easy to call upon, and the javelin-like water spikes rained down on the ground as he tried to pin down the lizard men. This is not getting me anywhere. I need to do something, that's it. His hands flew through the hand signs. Earth style, rock spikes. Micah focused his chakra, and instead of the spikes forming up out of the ground, they formed aiming into the ground. An eruption of blood told Micah he'd gotten another one. But he swore as 7 lizard men rose from the ground and he was forced to dodge arrows and spears. Master Q said they would return, and in greater numbers, but this is becoming ridiculous. Micah landed and leapt again. His wind shield caught more arrows and he used them as his wind spun them around and sent the barrage back at the lizard men archers. He was hovering in the air when he saw something big pushing up from the snow. Oh, this can't be good. Seconds before the ground erupted and monstrous war filled the air. Naruto was surrounded by swirling purple chakra. Kyuubi looked on in shock. Not something I was expecting. He muttered. The pillar pulsed and Kyuubi saw its glow was syncing with Naruto's. Oh Takesis. Q thought watching the pillar of the one vixen he'd thought would have been his mate. Q watched as the two signatures seemed to stretch out and connect. This isn't what I thought would happen. Takesis, what are you up to from beyond the grave? Q thought as he watched the vortex spin about and Naruto limply hover in the air. The chakra in and around the boy surged and Q was shocked by this. She's merging her chakra, and ours, what in the name of Kami? He watched as Takesis's grave seemed to shimmer and 2 bones about 14 inches drifted out. Q watched as 2 vials floated out as well and then 2 shards of demosite. 2. Oh Takesis, you're being far too generous here. What are you up to, you naughty vixen? Kyuubi thought watching as the items spun in the purple vortex of chakra with Naruto hanging there in his Vunla-enhanced trance. Kit? Q asked. Naruto made no response and Kyuubi could only watch as the items spun around to halt before the blonde. The bones seemed to shimmer and take shape and they glowed a orangish tinge. Q watched as the vials dissolved, and the organs in there seeped into the bones. Takesis's heartstrings, amazing. Next came the demosite shards. Neither was longer than a finger, and Q took note of their color. Strange, they're changing color to match, interesting. Never knew that could happen. Always thought it was the demon that determined the color. He watched as the demosite merged with the heartstrings and then the bones. Naruto's chakra engulfed them. Kits are natural. Didn't even need to read the scrolls. This is all instinct. I knew he'd do well. Kyuubi thought proudly as he watched as the bones were shaped by the chakra. Runes were traced in by invisible fingers, and Q would bet that Takesis's spirit was guiding Naruto. Q watched as Naruto drifted back to the ground, his feet touching down. The blonde's hands reached out and there was flash as his hands touched the bone handles. Well, I'll be son of a toad. Q muttered seeing 2 energy blade crackling with raw power. One was the same purple as Naruto's new blended chakra. The other however was the same sickening orange that the blonde used to wear. Kit, you keep surprising the hell out of me. Q muttered and used the Vunla to cushion Naruto as he slumped to the ground unconscious, the 2 blades deactivating, the Jinchuriki never letting go of his new weapons. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.